My female, 34, sister-in-law is excluding my son from my brother's wedding but keeping her nieces as flower girls. Should I even go to the wedding? Throwaway for obvious reasons. BC, my brother and some family know my main account. So my little brother Michael, male 30, is getting married to his fiancée Veronica, female 28, in about 3 months. They've been together for like a year and a half and engaged for almost a year now. Michael and I have always been super close, even though there's a 4-year gap between us. Like seriously, we talk almost every day, and he's always been there for me through everything. A little background. I went through a really messy divorce about 4 years ago when my ex-husband Dave decided that screwing his coworker was more important than our marriage and our son. It was a nightmare, and I honestly don't know what I would have done without Michael. He literally helped me find an apartment I could afford after the split. Dave took the house even though I wanted to keep it for stability for our son, but whatever. Watched my son Jacob, he's 8 now, was 4 when everything happened, whenever I had to work late shifts at the hospital lab, and has basically been the father figure in Jacob's life, since Dave only takes him like once a month if we're lucky. So anyway, Michael started dating Veronica about a year and a half ago. She seemed okay at first, I guess. But I started noticing some little things that bothered me. Like, she would make these comments about how Michael spends so much time with me and Jacob. Or she would randomly reschedule their dates to be on days when Michael had already promised to take Jacob somewhere. One time, Michael was supposed to take Jacob camping, and Veronica literally called the morning they were supposed to leave, saying she was feeling sick and needed Michael to come take care of her. Jacob was so disappointed. I mean, I'm not the jealous type at all, and I want Michael to be happy. He deserves it. So I kind of pushed all those concerns aside because he seemed happy with her, and I figured maybe I was just being oversensitive or whatever. About 6 months ago, Michael asked Jacob to be the ring bearer at the wedding. Oh my freaking God, you guys should have seen how excited Jacob was. He's been practicing walking with a pillow for weeks, and even saved up his allowance to buy a special bow tie that has little baseballs on it. He's obsessed with baseball, and Michael takes him to games all the time. He was so excited to be part of Uncle Michael's special day. Then, 3 months ago, I get this text from Veronica saying they've decided to make the wedding adults only because they want a sophisticated atmosphere or whatever. I was confused because Michael hadn't mentioned anything about this to me, but I figured maybe he just forgot or they were stressed with wedding planning. I was disappointed for Jacob, but I understood. But then, I'm scrolling through Instagram last week and I see Veronica's sister posting about how her daughters, 6 and 7, are trying on their flower girl dresses. I was like, wait, what? I thought it was adults only. So I texted Michael, and he seemed confused too, and said he'd talk to Veronica about it. I decided to call Veronica directly to figure out what was going on. When I asked about the kids' situation, she said it was adults only, except for the wedding party. When I pointed out that Jacob was supposed to be in the wedding party as ring bearer, she told me they decided to go with Michael's college roommate's son instead. When I pressed her on why Jacob was being excluded specifically, she said she didn't want my kids stealing attention on her day. Then she claimed Michael agrees with her before hanging up on me. I was shaking after this call. I immediately texted Michael screenshots of Veronica's original text about adults only and then told him everything she said on the phone. I still use the old phone Michael gave me after my divorce. It sometimes drops calls, but I can't afford a new one yet, lol. Michael seemed genuinely shocked when I showed him everything. He promised he would talk to Veronica about it and get it straightened out. That was 3 days ago, and I haven't heard anything definitive yet. I had to tell Jacob that he might not be in the wedding anymore, and he was absolutely crushed. He tried not to cry, but I could see his little lip quivering, and it really hurt to see him so sad. He's been pretty quiet about it since then, so maybe he doesn't care that much after all. But he did put his special bow tie in his drawer instead of on his dresser, where he had been keeping it out to look at. My parents think I should let it go for Michael's sake, and that Veronica is just stressed about wedding planning. But am I crazy? This feels like she's deliberately excluding my child while including her nieces. And the comment about Jacob stealing attention makes me think she has some weird issue with him specifically. I don't even know if I should go to this wedding anymore. Like, how am I supposed to sit there and be happy for them when she's treating my son like this? And I can't believe Michael would agree with her about this. Though honestly, I don't think he did. I think she was lying. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up so much. To answer some common questions. 1. Yes, Jacob's dad, Dave, could take him that weekend, but that's not really the point. Jacob was supposed to be in the wedding, and now he's being excluded while other kids are still included. 2. No, Jacob doesn't have behavioral issues or anything. He's actually super well behaved and quiet for his age. He's a little shy around new people, but opens up once he's comfortable. 3. Michael and Jacob are extremely close. Michael has been more of a father to him than his actual dad these past 4 years. They have a special handshake and everything. 4. I haven't talked to Michael again yet because I know he's been really busy with work this week. I'm giving him some time to talk to Veronica. Edit 2. For those asking if I'm in love with my brother or something gross like that, what the frick? No, we're just close siblings who actually care about each other. I swear Reddit is so weird sometimes. Now for the first update. So a lot has happened since my last post. First, thank you to everyone who commented and sent me messages. After I posted last time, Michael finally called me back. He had been super busy with work stuff, not avoiding me like some people suggested. We talked for like 2 hours, and I explained everything again about the text from Veronica and the phone call and how Jacob was feeling. Michael has always been the type to stand up for me, even when we were kids. Like, I remember this one time in middle school when I was being bullied by these older girls, and Michael came running over and told them to leave his sister alone. He's always been that way, which is why I was so confused about this whole wedding situation. Anyway, when I first told Michael about what Veronica said about Jacob, he didn't immediately believe she would do something like that on purpose. That really hurt my feelings at first, and honestly, I thought he was choosing her over family. But I get it now. He was just processing everything and trying to understand what was happening. He's always been the type to think things through before reacting. So Michael told me he went to talk to Veronica about 3 weeks before the wedding. This was like a week after our phone call. He said he tried to be really calm about it because he didn't want it to turn into a huge fight. He asked her why Jacob was being excluded when her nieces were still going to be flower girls. According to Michael, Veronica just said the flower girls' parents would take them home right after the photos, so it's different. Michael said he pointed out that I could do the same thing with Jacob if that was the issue. Then Veronica sighed and said she didn't want my drama at the wedding. What drama? I literally never cause drama. I'm a lab tech who works 50+ hours a week and raises my kid alone. When do I have time for drama? Michael told me he defended me and said I've never been dramatic. Then Veronica brought up how I always depend on Michael for help with Jacob. Michael told her that he loves spending time with his nephew and that he chooses to be involved in Jacob's life. And then she laughed and said that's why she has to make the decisions for them both. Michael said that comment really bothered him, and he asked what she meant. She explained that once they're married, they need boundaries with my family, and basically implied that she would be making those decisions going forward. I was really shocked when he told me this. And Michael said that after that conversation, he started noticing all these other red flags he'd been ignoring. How Veronica had been gradually keeping him from seeing his friends as much. How she would check his phone sometime. How she would make little comments about his relationships with people. And how she made a lot of decisions about their future without really discussing them with him. Oh, and get this. Michael found out that Veronica had told the venue coordinator that I might cause a scene at the wedding and should be watched carefully. What the actual fuck? I have never caused a scene anywhere in my life. Meanwhile, my parents were still telling Michael to keep the peace and not to throw away the relationship over one day. At first, I thought they were taking Veronica's side, but I think they were just worried Michael was making an impulsive decision. They've always been the type to avoid conflict. I had to tell Jacob that he definitely wasn't going to be in the wedding, and he cried again. I had to scramble to arrange for him to spend the weekend with Dave, his dad, who is usually super unreliable with visitation, but was suddenly all eager to take Jacob to a baseball game that weekend. Whatever, at least Jacob would have something fun to do instead of thinking about being excluded. So the wedding day comes, and I'm there without Jacob, wearing this simple blue dress instead of the outfit Veronica had suggested. For family photos, she wanted all the family members to coordinate in specific shades of purple and green that honestly would have looked terrible with my skin tone, but whatever. The ceremony starts and everything seems perfect on the surface. Michael is standing at the altar, but as Veronica walks down the aisle, I notice Michael looks uncomfortable. Not just normal wedding jitters, but really uncomfortable. Everything seems normal until the officiant asks if Michael takes Veronica as his wife, and then Michael hesitates. Then he asks for a moment and pulls Veronica aside for a whispered conversation. Everyone in the church starts murmuring, and I'm sitting there like, what is happening right now? I can see Veronica's face change from confusion to shock to rage. Then Michael turns to all the guests and says he cannot go through with the wedding. I literally gasped out loud. We all did. Veronica screams that this is all my fault and that I poisoned Michael against her. But Michael says that no one poisoned him, but he realized they want different things in life. Then Veronica storms out while her mother follows behind, giving me the death stare, like I personally ruined everything. I literally just sat there shocked like everyone else. After everything calmed down a bit, Michael told me privately that Veronica's comment about making decisions for them both had been bothering him for weeks. He said it made him realize this wasn't the partnership he wanted for his life. He said he'd rather be alone than with someone who didn't see him as an equal in the relationship. Michael's temporarily moved into my spare room while he figures things out. And Veronica has been calling family members non-stop saying that I manipulated Michael out of jealousy. Some of our extended family actually believed her at first. My cousin Shelby even sent me this horrible email about how I always monopolized Michael's attention and how I couldn't stand to see him happy with someone else, which is complete BS because I want Michael to be happy, just not with someone who treats him and my son like crap. I feel really guilty about everything. Like, did I cause this? I mean, I didn't tell Michael to leave her at the altar, but I also feel relieved that he recognized how controlling she was before they actually got married. And I feel bad about all the money that was wasted on the wedding, like thousands of dollars. But also, I'm glad Jacob won't have to deal with Veronica as an aunt. Oh, and to those who asked in my last post if Jacob and Michael have seen each other since everything happened, yes. And Michael made a point to take Jacob to the baseball game he had promised him months ago. They have this whole handshake thing they do, and Jacob has been so much happier having his uncle around more. Edit. Some people are asking if I warned Michael about Veronica before all this happened. Honestly, I had some concerns, but I never said anything directly because I wanted to support Michael's relationship. I figured maybe I was just being overprotective or something. I guess I should have said something sooner. To everyone asking if Michael had doubts before the wedding day, yes, apparently he did. He told me he'd been having second thoughts ever since that conversation about making decisions for both of them, but he kept hoping things would get better. He said he almost called it off the night before, but convinced himself he was just having cold feet. A lot of you are asking about Veronica's family's reaction. Her parents are furious and have been telling everyone that Michael and I planned this humiliation. Her sister, the one with the flower girls, actually reached out to apologize to me about the kids' situation. Apparently, Veronica had told her that I requested Jacob not be in the wedding because he gets anxious in front of crowds. Complete lie. Now for the second update. It's been about 3 months since my brother Michael left Veronica at the altar. Still feels weird to even type that out. And wow, so much has happened. So, the first few weeks after the non-wedding were super awkward. I felt this weird guilt every time I saw all the wedding gifts piled up in Michael's apartment that had to be returned. Like, I know I didn't make him call off the wedding, but I still felt this weird responsibility somehow. I don't know. Michael kept telling me it wasn't my fault, but yeah. One night when I was tucking Jacob into bed, he asked me if Uncle Michael was sad about not getting married. I tried to explain that sometimes people realize they're not right for each other before it's too late. And then Jacob just looks at me with those big eyes and goes, like, you and Dad. And I just wasn't prepared for that. Had to pretend I needed to check the laundry so he wouldn't see me crying. Kids just cut right to the heart of things sometimes, you know. Anyway, I thought Veronica was handling things maturely at first because she was quiet for like a week after everything happened. But nope. Turns out she was just planning her revenge campaign. She started making these super passive-aggressive social media posts about how some people can't stand to see others happy, and family manipulators always win. She never tagged me directly, but everyone knew who she was talking about. Then she made this whole Instagram highlight reel called Red Flags I Ignored, and it was basically just photos of times when Michael chose to spend time with me and Jacob instead of with her. Like, one was literally just Michael at Jacob's birthday party, as if an uncle attending his nephew's birthday is some kind of betrayal. I mean, what planet is she living on? Things got way worse when she started calling my workplace. I work in a hospital lab, and we're not supposed to take personal calls during shifts unless it's an emergency. My supervisor started giving me these looks, and I finally had to explain the whole situation to her. Thankfully, she was understanding, but still, so unprofessional of Veronica. But the absolute worst thing, and the reason I finally started documenting everything, was when she approached Jacob at his baseball game. Michael and I were getting snacks, and we came back to find her talking to my son. She apparently told him that your mom stole something important from me. Who does that to an 8-year-old child? Jacob was confused and upset, and Michael was furious. That's when I started keeping a log of every incident in case I needed to get some kind of legal protection. Then there was this whole thing at my parents' house that basically changed everything. So for context, my parents had been kind of weird about the whole situation. Like, they weren't exactly taking Veronica's side, but they kept saying things like, "These things happen, and maybe you should all just move on," which honestly hurt because it felt like they weren't acknowledging how messed up Veronica's behavior was. So we're at Sunday dinner. Me, Jacob, Michael, my dad, Roger, and mom, Ruth. The whole meal was super uncomfortable. My dad was unusually quiet. He's normally a total chatterbox. And my mom kept making these weird throat-clearing sounds whenever there was a silence. After dinner, my mom asks to talk to me alone in the kitchen. She pulls out this letter that Veronica had sent them. I'm not even kidding. It was like 5 pages long, detailing all the ways I supposedly manipulated Michael and ruined their relationship. It claimed I was jealous of their relationship and couldn't stand Michael having someone else in his life. It even suggested I had some kind of unhealthy attachment to my brother. Gross. To the commenters who suggested that before, this is why that was so hurtful. I started defending myself, trying to explain all of Veronica's controlling behavior and how she was the one who tried to isolate Michael, not me. But my mom interrupted me and told me they already knew. Mom told me that Veronica had been calling them daily with increasingly bizarre accusations. At first, they thought she was just heartbroken, but the calls got more and more unhinged. The final straw was when Veronica called at 2 a.m., accusing them of raising a sociopath, meaning Michael, and threatening to expose our whole family. That's when they realized this wasn't normal post-breakup behavior. My mom actually apologized for not believing me sooner. She admitted they got caught up in the excitement of Michael finally getting married. He's their youngest, and they didn't want to see any problems. I ended up crying in my mom's kitchen. Not my finest moment, lol, and telling her how isolated I felt when it seemed like no one believed me. Oh, and then I got this message on Facebook from Veronica's cousin Maria. She actually reached out to apologize to me and said that Veronica had done almost the exact same thing with her previous boyfriend before Michael. Apparently, she had isolated the guy from his family, made him feel guilty for spending time with anyone but her, and when the relationship imploded, she blamed his sister. Michael's been going to therapy to understand why he ignored so many red flags with Veronica. I sometimes wonder if I should have said something sooner. But then again, when Michael first started dating her, he seemed so happy after his previous breakup that I didn't want to ruin it for him. So I guess I ignored some signs too. I don't know. The craziest part was finding out about Veronica's post-wedding plan. Michael told me she had this whole plan to have them move across the country for her dream job, something she had only vaguely mentioned to him as a potential opportunity. She had apparently already started looking at apartments in Seattle without telling him. Michael said when he found out, he realized she never intended for him to keep his close relationship with our family, especially me and Jacob. But the absolute craziest thing happened last month. I was having coffee with my friend Tina at this little cafe near my apartment, and Veronica just walks in. At first I thought it was a coincidence, but then she spots me and comes straight to our table. Tina knows the whole saga, so she immediately tensed up. Veronica sits down uninvited. Who does that? And starts saying she's ready to forgive me if I admit to sabotaging the wedding. I told her I had nothing to admit to and asked her to please leave us alone. That's when she just changed. Her whole face got red and she started raising her voice saying, "I've always wanted Michael for myself and couldn't stand to see him happy with someone else." I stayed calm, somehow, and just kept repeating that Michael makes his own decisions. Then she admitted that her plan was to move them to Seattle to get him away from my influence permanently. And the universe has a sense of humor, I guess, because Michael had been meeting a friend at the same cafe and walked in just in time to hear her say this. He came over and told her very firmly that their relationship was over and she needed to stop harassing his family. Veronica started crying and making a scene, and the cafe manager actually asked her to leave. After that incident, Michael filed for a restraining order because she wouldn't stop texting and calling him. Our family has really rallied around Michael now that everyone sees what Veronica is really like. My parents even hosted a dinner where everyone apologized for not seeing through Veronica sooner. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that Veronica is dating someone new already, poor guy, but she still occasionally makes these vague posts about me. Whatever. I've blocked her on everything, but friends still screenshot the really crazy ones. The best part of all this is seeing Michael and Jacob's relationship get even stronger. They went camping last weekend, the trip that Veronica had ruined last year by pretending to be sick, and Jacob came home declaring it the best weekend ever, like 500 times. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel guilty about being relieved the wedding didn't happen. But then I remember how Veronica treated Jacob, how she tried to isolate Michael, and all the crazy stuff she did afterward. And I think sometimes being cast as the bad guy is worth it when you're protecting people you love. Most of the family issues have settled down now, but I still get anxious whenever my phone rings from an unknown number. I guess some effects of this whole situation will take longer to fade. Edit. To those asking if I've considered getting my own restraining order, yes, I've talked to a lawyer about it. Since Veronica hasn't contacted me directly since the cafe incident, just posting vague stuff online, there's not enough for a legal case yet. But I'm keeping records of everything, just in case. For the people suggesting I set Michael up with someone else, oh my fricking god, no. He needs time to heal and figure things out. And honestly, I'm terrible at matchmaking anyway. I once set up my friend with a guy who turned out to be secretly married, so yeah, I'm done with that lol. Someone asked about the wedding venue and deposits. Michael lost about $15,000 between deposits and non-refundable stuff. His friends actually pooled some money together to help him out, which made me cry when I found out. Veronica hasn't offered to pay back any of her share. Several people have asked what happened with Jacob and Veronica's flower girl nieces. The girl's mom, Veronica's sister, actually messaged me to apologize about the whole thing. Turns out, Veronica told her I was the one who didn't want Jacob in the wedding because I was planning to leave him with his dad that weekend anyway. Complete lie, obviously.